We back. We got another video here from the YouTube channel North Star. And this one is going to be talking about is getting rich luck or hard work, millionaires versus the middle class debate. This video's from about 6 months ago, but it did pop up on my feed. It's like 23 minutes. I think this should be good. I think we'll all like it. So without any further ado, let's make sure you like, sub to the channel, comment, all that good jazz. And let's get to this one.
Ivy League school, like we're just trying to like get out of poverty.
You know, if it's my resume and your resume, but I know the guy, I'm gonna get the job.
That's a privilege.
It's just luck.
Yeah,
No, it's a privilege. It's an institutionalized
and that's
privilege.
okay.
You would all agree there are two different types of immigration, right? There's illegal immigration, there's the people who are breaking the law and crossing the border.
Some people are lucky and some people aren't. It's just that simple. And it's hard to accept. The world's a cruel place.
Do you think you're accepting of the system because it's worked for you?
There are institutional and systemic barriers that prevent some people from becoming successful.
I don't know if anyone that has millions of dollars has ever ridden a bus, but you don't understand that your day would be 4 hours to get somewhere back and forth as opposed to a 20-minute drive. And so the shift in all these things that happen are highly destructive. And it's not that people become lazy, it's because they become overwhelmed.
Education, access, knowledge,
Accessibility to almost everything.
redlining.
But that's like how complex adaptive systems work. The number one determinant of outcomes is your initial conditions. Like that's biology. That's how complexity systems, that's how the universe is designed. Right. So, you know, it just is what it is. Like, you know what, like that's how the nature of the fabric of biology is. And so, you know, we can sit here and complain how it's not equal, but that's just how it is. Like, of course, it would be a utopian society where everybody, but then we could have that if we had, like, imagine we had unlimited energy, right? Because money is just stored energy, right? Like, that's all. You go to work, you expend your energy, they give you dollars, right? And that's where the real disconnect is. You're getting dollars in exchange for your energy, but then the dollar is losing its value and you don't know how to offset that, so then everything gets a little bit harder.
And more energy you put out.
And so, but all my point is on this is like, there's for sure barriers. Like if you're in a club, you know the right people, your network is your net worth. I mean, that's just how the world works. And like, I don't really think there's any way to unwind that.
I mean, it's interesting to hear you say that it's a fact of biology in the universe when we know that these are man-made systems. We know that these are man-made policies.
Yeah, there we go. She came out the gate on the money. Like, yeah, everything that we are doing is in the image of something that somebody else made, not ours. So that's the thing. You know what I'm saying? She's on the money with that one.
It's not that, you know, the universe or God or our biology has determined that it's right to redline. These are man-made policies. That's not just how it is. It's how you, as someone who has been born into capitalism, has experienced the world and as like life views have been shaped. And if we're thinking also about, you know, racialized capitalism, we're thinking about the institutionalization of white supremacy. It's really interesting to see, honestly, how that's coming up in this room, by way of how I'm hearing like, I'm just kind of, struck by hearing that it's like a fact of biology and the universe, that these are barriers.
Sure, but I guess what I'm trying to say is like, if you just think about an actual like Sierpinski's triangle or something where it's where you start has the most, this is just math, like the most determinant outcome like is based on your initial condition, not what you do. Like, I mean, look, you go to Chipotle, the guy who's grilling the chicken's working hard, right? There's a lot of people working hard. And like, I think that's the whole American dream thing is like, you want to believe that if you work hard, that you get results, right? And I think that's what we're talking.
Well, we already know, if you got your thinking cap on, we already know that most people who are millionaires aren't necessarily the smartest people. They just so happen to be in the right place at the right time, and they just seize the moment. They're not that bright. They got people around them to do the thinking for them. They're just the face of it. You know what I'm saying?
Talking about here, but what I'm trying to tell you is most of it's just luck. Where you were born is the most important thing in determining outcomes. Now you can overcome that for sure, no question. But I'm just telling you that like, it's, you know, it just, that's how the systems work. Like, and that's how you can do it in a non-human system, and you can see this as well. And that's what I meant by biology. Like, there's all kinds of complex science that like just shows this.
Right.
Feudalism and monarchy has been the norm throughout history. So
Totally.
we had an aberrational period where democracy and like the people had a moment. But like I'm just saying, over the history of humans,
Yep.
feudalism is what's reigned.
I get the history. I ask, have we not evolved enough? Are we not educated enough? Why can we not use AI to take us out of that?
Because maybe that's just how humans are derived. Like the top of the pyramid, there's some certain, and a lot of the people who make it to the top are not good people.
And that's
You know
all
what I
I'm
mean?
saying is that
and
people,
so like,
that's
how do you protect against that? A sociopath can be functioning.
That's my point. And I think that's the point, right?
And see, one thing I am thinking now, when you talk to the younger millennials and Gen Z, see, they no longer want to carry out the mission that is the mission of America, the whole capitalism thing and the monopolizing and capitalizing. They do not want to carry out that mission. And that's where I think the older generation of people are kind of like in worry, and they want the AI to kind of take over, because no, you're not going to get somebody to go and bust tables for $12 an hour. Not nobody that's probably like 25 and younger. Like, it's not happening.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
I'm not disagreeing with
No,
that.
no, and I'm not
But I'm just
disagreeing
saying
with
it is
you.
what it is. That, I'm much more accepting that is the structure of how things
Right.
work. And like, we just try our best, basically.
Do you think that's how it should work? I mean,
How
should
it
you like
should
fight
work.
to change that?
Yeah,
Sure.
should
I
it
mean,
work
I would
like that?
it.
Yeah,
Everybody just
answer
said
that.
we're all having pina coladas and no worries, for sure. Absolutely. Like, I'm a normal guy. I'm just telling you that, like, I'm accepting of like how systems work versus like, and everyone try, you know, we'd be nice to other people.
Do you think you're
charities.
accepting of the system because it's worked for you?
Am I accepting of the system because it's worked for me? I don't know if it's worked for me. I mean, there's been things that have not gone right
It's
in my
worked
life.
for you.
But,
You're a millionaire.
No, I'm just accepting because I'm kind of a philosopher, science person. Like, I just look at how things are and look at history. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I've had a nice life, so I guess I'm just more, it's easier to have that position. Let's put it that way. I'll agree with that.
There's definitely a bigger and growing gap between, you know, the ones that do not have anything and the ones that have everything, simply because, you know, that's how economics work these days. The investments opportunities, and, you know, you can multiply them much more versus people at the bottom. They're pretty much living paycheck to paycheck, right? That's sort of like they cannot think about investments and savings. And so at first I thought, when you mentioned biology, I thought, well, maybe you're talking about survival of the fittest, right? Because you think about the evolution, the people who live in paycheck to paycheck, they have...
Let me tell y'all something, okay, if you're watching this, right? The people that are on the left are the ones that made the people on the right the people they are. They'll tell you quickly, oh, you need to invest in the Magnificent Seven, your Metas, your all of that stuff. And I said this in one of my other videos. But in order for that to even be a thing, you got to have the people on the left invested in these things. When they get done paying their bills, you need them to go out here and be spenders, because then that will essentially increase the value or the stock prices of these companies. So then you make money in the long run. You see what I'm saying? Because rich people don't. They like, you look at these dudes, you wouldn't even know they were millionaires. They're not wearing a Rollie. They're not wearing a Patek, no Louis Vuitton, none of that. They just look like regular dudes.
They find extra time because they're ambitious, because they want to grow, because they want to achieve American dream. They want to grow better and get better and better. In this case, they kind of slowly rise up, and so there is an opportunity, again, pure due to the evolution, to go up, right? On the other hand, the ones that already have plenty, the billionaires that are in the world, I mean, you know that typically by the third generation in families, you know, wealth disappears. So like, you know, whoever's on top, they eventually is going to go down, versus there is always an opportunity for people to go up. And so again,
I like how
if
he's
they
trying to
believe
explain
in
this.
evolution, in this case, survival of the fittest, people are going to succeed.
Like, think about elite universities as like a gateway to better life, you know? And I have lots of friends who went to Ivy League schools that didn't, let's just say they went to got in, and that they didn't have from the right family. They're the family who their father went there or something. And they're moving that away. They're starting to remove that at Stanford and the other schools to give more opportunities to other people, which is a step in the right direction, right? To your point, like we can do things.
Yeah, but those schools are 100,000 a year, like USC or something, and so the opportunity still isn't there. You know, whatever it is that they're doing, right?
I think it goes way deeper than that. I think that the limitations that it put on us are a result of choices before. It's a very slow and patient game. I mean, the people from the Reagan administration and the war on drugs that took the fathers out the homes, that made the moms single parents, who had the kids on the streets, like we're treading just to trying to keep up, so many systematic things have been put in place that affect us years later. That Ivy League school, like we're just trying to like get out of poverty, or we're just trying to graduate school. I just think it's a slow, intentional on how they put these barriers in, and
because none of this was ever designed, in my opinion, for it to work for everybody. It's only for a select few, for those who manage to figure it out, find a loophole somewhere in this man-made system. It's not meant for every person to benefit from it. You are a worker, and you're going to die a worker. Period. That's what their whole philosophy is. Nowadays, I mean, they got artificial intelligence doing everything, so who knows what the fate is of the worker. But for the overwhelming majority of most people, they've worked their whole life and they die. So, or they're no longer here. Let me say that, because YouTube be tripping.
Are fighting the results of that. So as I can't even think about Ivy League school. It's, you know.
I was just giving it as an example of like trying to make it where there's more opportunity, because it is a place where then it can give you more opportunity. And that's just one example. And in general, the people you know, if they're people who have power, or like it's easier to go up knowing.
The people who have power, it's like, explain power to me, because see, power to me would be the person or the, God, who put us here, who made H2O, who made a piece of fruit where after you get done eating it, you take the seeds out the stem and you put them seeds back in the ground and regenerate and make another apple. See, now that's power right there. A human being can't do that. A human being can create another human being, but a human being can't create anything really. Everything that you created was already on this planet before you got here. Money is made out of cotton. Cotton been here before human beings. You know what I'm saying? There's no such thing as you having power. You give yourself power because of the things that you created, and you managed to get the masses of people to basically use it. Like a smartphone, for example. You can maybe call yourself powerful in that way because you managed to get everybody to use a smartphone, and they live and die by that. So yeah, that's power, but that's as far as that goes. You know what I'm saying? You can't create a planet. That's one thing a human can't do. So yeah.
Somebody versus here's my resume. If it's my resume and your resume, the same thing, right? We have the exact same resume, but I know the guy, I'm gonna get the job. If it's just same, and like that's just kind of what I'm trying to say is that like the net.
That's a privilege. Right.
It's just luck.
No, it's a privilege. It's an institutionalized
and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with privilege.
Privilege is luck.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't deserve
That's
anything.
not luck.
Isn't that what privilege is? Like you're saying you didn't deserve to have that advantage in essence? I just think of it as luck.
It's not necessarily a thing about deserving this. It's more so about this thing about an inherent advantage that you have been able to have.
Yeah, but why though?
Because of us operating in systemic and institutional barriers.
A system that kept you privileged.
Right.
Right, but again, I didn't choose to be born the way I did, or anybody, we're born that. It was just, some people are lucky and some people aren't. It's just that simple. And it's hard to accept. The world's a cruel place. I'm sorry. It's just the truth.
The American dream is dead. Real quick, my name is Mark. I'm editing this video right. Subscribe
Number one country for accepting
to me, and it would help me out a ton. So thank you.
Get your money.
If you look at the numbers, America is still the #1 country for accepting immigrants in the world. You know, more people are trying to come here than anywhere else in the world. And, you know,
But one may want to ask the question, why do they want to come here? Now, I'm not gonna lie. I watched one of Astral Dior's reaction videos. Shout out to him. He was looking at a video where they were showing you coffin style homes in Hong Kong. Now that there, I've never seen nothing like that in my life. It's like, you think it's bad here in America when it comes to just not having anything. It's really bad in other places. Over in Hong Kong, it's so crowded out there that if one of your loved ones was to unfortunately pass away, you have to rent a burial plot. And if you can't afford that, they will cremate them because you have to pay rent on their burial. Like if they're buried there, I never seen nothing like that. So it is crazy in other places. So I can understand why people maybe want to come here, but then when you get here, what is your plan? Because if you're thinking that you're going to be able to capitalize on the American people, you got another thing coming. If you're a foreigner and you're coming here, that whole idea of, yo, you come to America and you can make lots of money and, you know, you take that money back to your country, that is slowly but surely fading out.
perhaps to them, that's because the American dream, you know, is still alive.
Are we not currently trying to dismantle that dream? I mean, the very thing that we're watching on
No,
TV
definitely
is...
not. That's
that,
totally
you know,
different.
It's not.
That's completely different.
Yeah, well, the immigration, I mean, it just seems like
Well,
immigration.
but you would all agree there are two different types of immigration, right? There is illegal immigration. There is the people who are breaking the law and crossing the border. Like,
Well, let's keep it real. And see, nobody really wants to talk about this because it's like they want to brush it under the rug. It's water under a bridge. But if you really want to get to the brass tacks of it, everybody in this damn country is illegal. Because if we go back to Columbus, when him and his boys came over here, you didn't have a green card. You didn't have the proper documentation to bring your ass over here, but you came over here anyway. You was chopping it up with the Indians before you offed them. Then you went over to, you know, the motherland and was bribing them over there. Like, look, you know, I need some of your people. You know, I need to bring them back over here. You know, I got something we working on over here in America, so I'm going to need them. You know what I'm saying? Give me a couple of them. And they fell for it, and then we ended up over here, and now here we are. But we all illegal, you know what I'm saying? But it's just when you know, are a certain type of person, you don't necessarily have to worry about nobody bucking up against whatever it is that your forefathers before you created. They just go along with it, you know what I mean?
I grew up in a country where if you cross the border illegally, you're pretty much immediately shot. So you try to actually live in a country where if you leave the country, you're going to be immediately shot. So like that kind of thing did not exist. And so I know, again, me and many of my friends, we all kind of like went through quite significant amount of effort to come here legally, apply for visas, you know, wait for not the asylum. Some people came for the asylum as they were persecuted recently in Russia. But there's legal immigration, sort of like that.
So what he's basically saying, and sometimes I would want to ask these people this, so would you agree or would you be full on in agreement with everything that has happened and how this place called America came to be? Would you agree that they were right in doing the things that they did to make this what it is? Because that's essentially what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like, you have no issue with what they did to conquer this place, killing, you know, taking away, killing Indians and stuff like that and enslaving people. You're okay with that because your argument will be, well, you know, nothing's perfect. You know, I'm not saying that what they did was right, but, you know, it's nothing we can do about that now. Well, then all of this was a farce anyway, because, like I said, we're not legal. We're just going along with it.
That's what sort of I completely support. And of course, any country actually would benefit from it. And America significantly benefits from it. Japan, for example, significantly doesn't benefit from it, if that's the right expression. They barely allow any immigration whatsoever. And as a result, the country is declining. But here, illegal immigration is plentiful, but illegal is, I totally do not support that.
It's interesting seeing the perspective from people who come into the United States, what their perception of American dream is, and people who are already here or generational who are here, and what our version of the American dream is.
Well, I mean, there's a definition of its upward mobility, right? That's sort of like you, over time, maybe compared to your parents, maybe compared to yourself as you start to live in this country, there's an opportunity here for upward mobility, right? And if you, through hard work and perseverance, that's kind of like in general, you know, there's many other aspects like luck, and sometimes it's whom you know and some other things, but it's primarily hard work and perseverance, you can live better.
And you know, the other thing about America is like, we haven't, when you look at like the science and technology scores, we haven't been in the top 10 in a long time. But you know what America always is number one at? Confidence. And I've been an entrepreneur since I was 27, and like that's.
I like how we talk about America as if it's actually a person, when we're talking about a collective of a bunch of people with different thoughts, different minds, different attitudes, different everything. We talk about America as if it's a person. America is not a person. America is a piece of land this is a piece of land that we gave that name to. Confidence. But what has confidence really gotten us? You know what I'm saying? Okay, so when he says confidence, what he basically to me is saying that, listen, we going to talk our shit and there's nobody that's going to do nothing about it. And if they try to buck up against us, we got an answer for that. Yeah, we know we're not rolling with, you know, we know that most of the people in this country are a few cans short of a six-pack. No, we're not leading in education like kids over in China or in Japan. But one thing we do have is we have entertainment, we have gossip and stuff like that. That's where we thrive. We're consumers. So that's what makes us special. That's what makes us the best place in the world, because people like but this ain't nothing but one big ass flea marketplace. That's all America is. It's just a place to buy shit.
Really what it takes. You just have to be confident. You just have to go out and take risk. And Americans are.
You guys, and I know I keep stopping the video, but you know, I get passionate about stuff like this. You guys are where you are because somebody brought into whatever it is that your parents were doing or whatever it is that you were doing. If y'all are, you know, inheritance of wealth, whatever your parents were doing, it was something that they were selling. And that's how you become a millionaire in America, or a billionaire, is if you sell something, even if it's yourself.
Still the best at that. Like, there's no one in the world I'll put up against the risk-taking, the confidence to go do stuff and create stuff than Americans. Like, we're not the most educated. Like, there's lots of problems, but time and time again, Americans just, they play to win. And I don't know. I mean, like, there was the declines, and it's easy to be negative, and like, especially right now, I can feel it, and I understand. But it's like, I don't know. There's something about it where the people believe here. They still believe. And like, their belief is being challenged, there's no question, but people still believe, and there are opportunities without question. There's just more, I just think it's just more people. There's more competition than, you know, there's just a lot more people than there were 30 years ago.
But I also feel that our arrogance sometimes, I mean, our confidence goes to arrogance. And the arrogance is something that can become a little bit offensive. And so Americans are kind of pushing in a way that, I don't know, it's almost like stepping on toes at some point.
Yeah, but I think, like, I lived in Italy half the year for 13 years, and like, the arrogance, and I have lots of European friends, the arrogance there is very different. It's an entitled arrogance. There's a little of it now, but it's like, I'm just meaning that like people are willing to go after it. That's what I mean by confidence.
I appreciate that, and I do get that. Yes, I do.
I think there's a large population of Americans who are not privileged with the opportunity to have arrogance. Because what they are dealt with is survival, and there's never an opportunity to get on level ground to even start to have the arrogance. Generationally, we're trying to put ourselves in a position so we can be a part of the race. So when I say it's your perception of what American Dream is, for one population, American Dream may be the whole family coming together and getting one house, or getting out of poverty, or adding to your portfolio. I just think it's really based off of the experience, the vision, the experience, and what you've had access to even know what's possible. So.
Yeah, I think as I hear all of y'all talking, there's a couple of things that I want to address. You had mentioned when you came from Russia with $1,000 in your pocket, you worked for a year and a half, you saved up some money, and were able to put down money for a house. And it's really important to acknowledge that these were really different circumstances to be able to achieve that beforehand, right? Like, we are constantly evolving. I'm thinking about, you know, my mother who came as a Cambodian refugee after the genocide, and she was able to attain what someone could consider an American dream. I grew up, you know, upper middle class, and even then, it's interesting because as the American dream evolves, so does what is required to maintain that evolve. It's becoming so much more difficult to maintain that dream.
Yeah, because now they want you, what took one job for your grandparents, they want you working 4 jobs to afford the same house that has not changed locations, that is on the same plot of dirt it's been on for the last 50 years. They want you to pay $400,000, $500,000 for that house. What are we doing here? And then with you wiping out jobs or not paying people a livable wage, I mean, what are we really doing here? Like, is the game up? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we going to be doing now? You feel me?
We know that you're so much closer to falling into houselessness than you are actually being able to move upward into being rich.
I guess I raised my hand because as soon as I heard the word American dream, I raised to support it, not because I believe that it's that. So my answer is completely the opposite. I grew up in the Soviet Union, and so there's no American dream. Everything is all related to whom you know, and whether you can bribe people at the right time, right? So there was like barely any upward ability unless you fall within certain families or you make the sort of the right friends. So I came to this.
You see, these people that are coming from these other countries, for the most part, when they come here looking for opportunity, they are looking for an opportunity to essentially, in my opinion, make money off of, you know, American people, but they don't necessarily know it in the beginning. You know, when they come here and they may start a business or something like that, your hopes is that, you know, the people who are native to that land will invest and buy whatever it is that you're selling. You know what I mean? But what's crazy about this is that can't be the reverse. You know, people who were born and bred here, you know, they can't go anywhere else because it's really been engineered that way, that this place, America, the United States, is supposed to be like this land of milk and honey. It's crazy.
Country just over 30 years ago for an American dream, and I'm living it. And so, like, over the time, with hard work, with perseverance, you know, and it's been achieved. And so many of my other Russian friends and other Europeans whom I know, the sort of Latin American people, they came and they achieved pretty much the same thing. They come, they get good education, and they come here, they get good work, and then they succeed at life. Not everybody is achieving the sort of, you know, necessarily the same level as I did, but, you know, many of them achieved more, many of them achieved a little bit less.
Do you think if you arrived today, as opposed to 30 years ago, that the same thing would happen?
100%.
Do you?
100%, because
Okay.
I do the same thing happening still. People come here, sometimes they're already educated somewhere else, sometimes they come here for education. If you get a good education, if you have, you know, good enough brain, then you expose yourself to good professional opportunities, and those professional opportunities.
Well, that's already being debunked because you could have a degree, but now, like for a few years ago, they were saying, oh, you need to get a degree in computer science. You need to learn how to code, this, that, and the third. Well, I got a friend now who cooks food who at one point would hit me up to make her menus and stuff like that. And now with the simple push of a button, she can go into an app. What's that app called? It's called ChatGPT. And she can put in a prompt and it will make her a full on out menu with all the different visuals and everything. So much for coding. You don't even know how to code. You don't even need to know how to code anymore. So this is what I'm saying. It's like he's talking from a lens when he got to this country 30 years ago. 30 years ago, that was 1995 when he got here. Yeah, things were a little different in 1995. If we were living under a 90s economy, everybody would be lit right now. You know what I'm saying? Everybody. But that's not what's going on out here.
Opportunities, or maybe you just become an entrepreneur, right? So, and then you have an opportunity in this country to
I
continue
see
to
where
grow.
your perspective is, People who come into the country don't necessarily have to deal with the systematic issues. You get to come with the privilege, so you don't have to face some of the obstacles. But I do believe that the American dream is still a thing. I think the original conception of it back in the Gilded Age, where it's like a white picket fence, that idea is dead, but it's a evolving idea. The more access that I have, the more my perception.
Let me tell you something. Basically, what the American dream is now is being more so catered towards people who are on the no having kids tip. This is why you're starting to see now, like, even if you go down to Atlanta, they are putting up high rises like crazy. Not for families, though. That concept is going. They're making that a city for the single life, people with money, people who want to travel and stuff like that, that are not interested in starting a family. They're not building in America for families anymore. Yeah, the American dream has essentially shifted to that. Yeah, the white picket fence, the puppy, the 2 kids in the car in the driveway, yeah, that's dead. That's not a thing anymore. It's shifted to something completely different. And a lot of people are not going to qualify for that.
Of the American dream changes. And while there is a wide wealth gap, the majority of the millionaires in the United States don't come from trust funds. They're self-made. So I think the original American dream was to dedicate 20 years of your life, 30 years to of your life doing a career that you hated in hopes that one day you don't have to do it anymore. I think the new American dream is doing something that you love so you never have to retire. So for that reason, I believe that the American dream is evolving. There's always been systematic barriers for us. That's always been a thing. It's just kind of how we overcome that and utilize what we have today.
You have to use historical perspective, right? Think about how much more opportunity there is now than 100 years ago, 200 years ago. I mean, the thing about America is that it had a nice run post-World War II. The whole world got destroyed, and so America ran a current account deficit or a surplus and a capital account surplus, and the whole world was pegged to us. So we provided everything to everybody, and so it was a very easy opportunity. And so the 50s and 60s shouldn't looked at as like something that was normal. It was an aberrational period, like relative to history of any country. So like people look at that as a golden age, but it was a golden age. It was never something that was going to last. And so you have so many more people, the world's competitive, everybody sees everything on the internet, so there's this idea of like, oh, the people are doing well, so then it feels that. But I think people work hard here. I think there's more opportunity. I lived in Europe and Italy for a while, and like he said, I mean, I've been to Moscow, but there's a lot of countries where there's not nearly as much opportunity. So relative to the opportunity set that was, I think that's probably fair.
The thing is, when they say opportunity, elaborate on that. What are these opportunities that you're talking about? You know what I mean? Are you talking about job opportunities? Are you talking about business opportunities? What exactly do you mean? Because like he just illustrated, there are way more people living on this planet now than there were, say, 50 years ago. People are having kids, you know what I'm saying? There's no regulation on that, which is understandable. You can't tell people what they can and can't do with their bodies and whatnot. So where are these opportunities coming from? You don't have enough jobs. You know what I'm saying? Let me tell you what I told my cousin the other day. I said, human beings we've run out of jobs. We've run out of ideas. We've run out of thoughts. We've went to all regions of our brain. That's why this artificial intelligence is so mind-blowing to people. And it's probably going to be the last stop for humanity or whatever, as far as I look at it. There's no song we haven't heard, no book we haven't read, no movie we haven't seen, no game we haven't played. We've done everything already. Human beings have done everything. You know how lions and animals have a mental cap, or there's a cap on their brain and their intellect? Well, we've reached ours. So now it becomes a thing of we need to just exist. We did everything. We've made cars, we've sent rockets into space, satellites and all of that. We've done it. We've pretty much, we are the most intelligent species this side of the universe. So now it's just time to live with all of this stuff that we made. You feel me?
But I think there's still tons of opportunity here, and people every day are getting things done. It's just It's more competitive in some sense.
In the last 50 years, as much as we think that America is so far ahead, we're actually declining. Our strength in the world and the economy, everything is going downwards. And you could even compare it to like a Roman Empire, is exactly with what you're saying, and I 100% agree, is the people at the top are still going to live their quality lives, but more and more, like a greater percentage is going to get that squeeze, and we're going to live in it. So are we learning from our history, or are we just going to go repeat it? You know, that's kind of the thing I'm saying.
America is the greatest country on earth.
It's cap. It's cap. None. Yeah.
My perspective is because this is my people's land. You know, I come from the Shawnee and Apache tribe between Kansas City and Oklahoma. This land is rich. This is the original Egypt. So to me, because my roots run deep here, this is the most place that I feel home. There have been catastrophic events to many populations on many continents around
I could see the Indian in her features. Like, you could see she's got some Indian in
the
her.
world. But this land, this soil, this place where we are, this is my home. And because of that, this is the best place.
I am exceedingly proud to be an American. Like, I have always loved the fact that I'm an American, that I'm here. And I feel like America has lost touch with community. Like, we've just started kind of tucking everything away the way that you would put like a old grandmother or maybe like a mentally challenged person away in a room and not let people see it when they come over. It's like we used to support Americans. I used to feel that, and I don't feel that anymore.
I am so grateful for being in a place, living in a place that has such diversity, but I really struggle because of this empire, because of the ways imperialism has shaped the world. You know, I hear us making a lot of comparisons between America and Europe, but the world is so much larger than America and Europe. It's significantly larger. And those are billions of people who have been negatively affected, to say it not lightly, as a result of this empire. And so I can't discount that, and that makes me really stop firmly, meaning like this is not the greatest country in the world, but I also don't think that any country is really the greatest country in the world. If only I wish, though, that America took seriously the land that it was on and its ability to really tend to it in ways that tended to the health, you know?
Americans didn't. It was colonizers.
No, of course.
Right?
Like, well, I'm thinking like
That's why I say
like
original Americans.
Original Americans,
Colonizers
yeah.
is the reason
Right.
why we're
Indigenous
doing all
folks,
that.
for sure, absolutely. You know, we think about like food forests, you know, and old growth forests, and the ways that they were maintained in respect for the land and being in reciprocal partnership with the land and not dominating over the land. So where I'm coming from is, yeah, like thinking about colonialism and imperialism and the ways that this empire is so deeply rotted in its core for those reasons. So
I definitely agree with her. You know, to say that this is the greatest country in the world, well, I mean, you got to really, you know, go all the way back, like I said, to its inception. You know, was this a situation where, you know, the natives to this land, the colonizers, and those of us who came from the likes of Africa and stuff like that, did we all just come together to a committee board and say, yo, I came up with this dope idea. You know, did Columbus say, yo, I came up with this great idea, man. Yo, it came to me in a dream. Her name was America. And she was just this great place where all these people came together and, you know, we built monuments and buildings and bridges, and we were all just a family and whatnot. And it made me think about you guys. And I'm thinking this is something that would be a good idea for this place. And you got the opinions and decisions and options from other likes of people. No, that is not what happened. You know what I'm saying? It was actually the complete opposite. And so to say that this is the greatest, absolutely not.
I don't think it's the greatest country.
It's not.
I mean, I think about it a little differently. Like, I think, the land thing, like, America has the most strategic, like, natural resources. You have 2 oceans on both sides. You have tons of fresh water, oil, gas. Like, you have, like, Americans are a little spoiled relative to
Yeah, you said we have oil and gas, you know, things that were in the ground that, if we're being honest, should stay there, because when you think about all the fossil fuels and things that have pretty much destroyed our ozone layers and stuff like that, which now allows, you know, certain particles and radiation to break through, which is why you're seeing a lot of people out here walking around crazy and carrying all these different diseases and stuff like that. Is because of these things. Okay, fine. Okay, we got two oceans on both sides, the Pacific and the Atlantic. Oh, you're talking about the same oceans that the MTA uses to put their old train waste for coral living and sea life, but polluting the ocean at the same time. Yeah, okay, I got you.
we have a couple wars, but like relative to where the region where you guys are in Eastern Europe, I mean, you can look at the boundaries have been changing for thousands of years,
Hey,
right?
I'm from Chechnya.
Yeah,
Like, my hometown was like completely destroyed.
So people here have no idea. Like if you lived in America your whole life, you have no idea what that's about, you know, or in certain parts of Asia. So there's, in some ways, yes, it is the greatest from just a natural. But like, yeah, this government, it's tough to like say the greatest. I don't know. It seems a little arrogant.
That's American.
Yeah, that's the end of the video. But yeah, this country has got is a piece of work. It's something, you know what I'm saying? And I've been here all my life, born and raised here. So I would say for myself, I do want a bit of like a change of scenery just to see what it's like elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? Because there are a lot of beautiful places on planet Earth. And for me, I don't think America is the most beautiful in a way. Yeah, does it have its certain areas and stuff like that? Yeah. But, you know, when you think about places like, you know, China and Japan and the Caribbean islands and stuff like that, every sector of Earth has its own identity, if you will. But y'all let me know down in the comments what y'all thought about that. I know this was a long one, but, you know, it came across my feed. I was like, yeah, I got to talk about this. So, yeah, make sure you like, sub to the channel. Like I said, leave a comment. If you made it this far into the video, I appreciate you. But that's going to wrap it up, y'all. Until the next one.